107, the party is turning. Then the party hopes to fill up the Moses Mabhida Stadium for the launch of its manifesto over the weekend. But it comes as fresh divisions have been reported between President Ramaphosa and former President Jacob Zuma, who's popular in that province. To discuss all these latest developments, we're joined by political analyst Ongama Mtimka from our studios in Port Elizabeth. Ongama, thank you for being with us. So KwaZulu-Natal apparently home to the highest proportion of ANC voters in the country, but also a lot of factionalism, political infighting there. Was it the right decision to centre the start of the election activity there?
I will say a bold decision, given the fact that what happens generally, ANC presidents prefer hosting events in their own strongholds. So, for example, last year, the January 8th statement was held in the Eastern Cape, and the support for Cyril Ramaphosa as the president was very strong in the Eastern Cape. Now, to take it to KZN signifies some degree of boldness on the part of those that are in charge of the party, and their level of confidence that whatever divisions are there in KZN can be contained, and a message of unity can be created. Because if they are wrong, it would be a grave one where you can have a president in KZN, and I don't think that they would have taken that risk if they weren't at least confident that whatever divisions that are in KZN can be managed.
Former President Jacob Zuma is popular there. Could this be about entrenching the new leadership in that province?
Yes, so if they had not gone there, the message would be that it's the impression of KZN as a no-go for Ramaphosa would hold, but he has deliberately attempted to neutralize this. Remember, during the campaign trail, he was seen campaigning right in KZN, going and meeting the king and related activities. So there has been very clear message from the Ramaphosa group and the new leadership post-Nazareth that KZN was never going to be allowed to become a no-go for them.
Jacob Zuma is on the campaign trail. The ANC said that he will be used. They told us earlier. There were reports at the weekend, though, that President Ramaphosa has called a meeting with former President Zuma over the tweet, maybe an example, or divisive statements. He supported nationalism recently. That is not party policy. As far as I know, this is the first time the ANC has confirmed a meeting, suggesting maybe even that a whole lot of the issues will be on the agenda. Is that significant for you?
Well, it is significant. First of all, the ANC's natural inclination, if I can use that word natural, is that when it senses that it is under siege, it does tend to close ranks and present a message of unity, even if it's very difficult to do so. So we are seeing Jacob Zuma, as well as those that didn't support Cyril Ramaphosa, out on the campaign trail. And KZN has been brought from being very hostile to the Ramaphosa grouping within KZN to being one that has shown openness, to the extent that you have Mabuya Kulu featuring very prominently in the list. I think he's number 2. So they've carried that message of unity. That Ramaphosa is reported to have confronted Zuma on his divisive ways is important, both in terms of the internal politics of the ANC, but also in creating a message to South Africans that President Ramaphosa is fighting the fight back and therefore is not a weak leader as he is purported to be.
But former President Jacob Zuma is still being used on the campaign trail. He's been implicated in state capture. Is the risk of not using him too great for the party?
So there are there are multiple processes that the new leadership of the ANC needed to engage in post-Nasrec. The biggest of them all, at least as far as they are concerned, has been to prevent the implosion of the ANC and the formation of a splinter party. So between the process of creating an improvement that the ANC is undergoing a change away from the years of state capture, corruption, and inaction in relation to those things, it has preferred to rather manage its own internal party machinery. Because remember, part of what has caused the ANC to lose support has been its own implosion within factional divisions, where you find that people end up who could be used in an electoral campaign end up not being used because they feel hard done or they have gone on to form another party. So among the competing interests of showing South Africans that the ANC is changing and retaining unity within the party and managing government well, the ANC has preferred for now to be seen to be compromising with people that were negatively implicated in state capture, as opposed to going so harshly against those people, alienating them and pushing them out of the organization, or forcing their hand in what is known as a fight back campaign. That does not mean that it's all plain sailing within the party. There's a lot of wrestling and a tug of war over the deployment processes, for example, among other things. There's still a fight, but so far the leadership has walked the difficult tightrope of containing the party pretty well, given the extent of divisions that are confronting the ANC. So, a short answer to your question, they prefer to be seen to be compromising with Zuma and his allies than rocking the boat there and facing the potential of a splinter or a fight back within the party.
Well, how will the electorate view that? So the question is, can you have the best of both worlds, being seen to be cleaning up on one hand, but also using controversial former leaders on the other?
That's a very interesting one, Francis. So the ANC, if you observe how they lost Nelson Mandela Bay and other areas, has a default position that says, do not be involved as a party in driving a process where you yourselves can be seen to be to have driven a splinter. So they are careful not to force the hand of those that they know are waiting on the sidelines to actually do something about a move that they may see as being harsh against their own faction. But the electorate, as you quite say, showed that they have lost patience with that kind of politics. We call it political accommodation. They have lost confidence in that, and they made that very clear in 2016. As far as I'm concerned, the ANC leadership want to continue to create the message that they are about changes, but not in a way that alienates their own.
Rumours were brewing that the former president was going to make this sort of a significant comeback to politics, but he's not on any of the proposed MP lists that the ANC has put together that I've seen. I can't verify any of those. Did he likely decline, though, that possibility of being an MP? We know he was nominated by some of the provinces.
So if he had accepted it, and I don't know whether or not he has in fact declined, it would create a very strong mess. It would confirm, in fact, strongly that there is a fight back agenda, and it may have him coming back via the back door to lead the country in the most extreme cases. But if he has declined, it will create the message that the message of some managed unity is winning, and he sees the potential chaos of fight back strategy that is too reckless. But I mean, you cannot rule out the possibility, because the people that support him or are known to be his loyalists are still featuring very prominently in the list. And I think despite the criteria that's been agreed upon, you are still going to have some of his lieutenants featuring in the list, precisely because of the political accommodation that's being done. So one thing we can be sure about is that the ANC is not going to be 100% about its voter base. Because remember, there are many voters that vote for the ANC that are not its own membership. It's not going to be about those people. It's going to want the new leaders won't want to be fingered if a splinter were to happen. And as such, they are likely going to compromise, even if it means making some marginal losses during the 2019 election.
So I agree with you. It does seem like there's compromise happening. The ANC has said, though, that there will be a vetting process around those MPs. But if what you're saying is right, it's very unlikely that the likes of Malusi Gigaba will be removed.
It's very unlikely that all the people that need to be removed will be removed. There may be a clinical application of that criteria, but it won't be to the extent that the organization can no longer hold. Remember, these people that have bargained to be included, even though they know it's not best for the party from an electoral point of view, are people who want to push willy-nilly to be there. And their gripe is that the Cyril grouping has they were accusing the new leadership of actually alienating them. If you look at what happened in Northwest, for example, against Suprema Humapilo and against those that are seen to be Zuma loyalists elsewhere in the country. So they are going to want to push for a compromise. But one thing for sure, the South African electorate is no longer subject to the political games of the ANC. And it has shown that it has got relative independence, and it will not be fooled into thinking that the ANC is something else when it is not.
All right, we'll wait and watch the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal this week. A lot of major events culminating in Moses Mabhida Stadium, the manifesto launch. That was political analyst Ongama Mtimka from Port Elizabeth via Skype. Thank you for being with us.